Cool. So today is Tuesday, October 16th, 2018, Mastery of Recommendation Fundamentals. So we're going to hit on how to average at least 10 recommendations each time using the 5 keys, how to properly ask for more, how to respond to an objection and a concern properly, how to get text messages sent immediately, and how to enroll your client into using Facebook. And then we'll open up for some Q&A throughout. So let's start with the basics on averaging 10 each time. So I have 5 simple keys to making sure that you get at least 10 recommendations each time. So number 1 key, in order to get 10 recommendations each time, is to make sure they like you. So they have to like you. They have to get bought into you, into what you're doing, why you're doing this. And that happens as early as the phone conversation. And the next phase would be at the beginning of the appointment. So when you're setting up the appointment, how you treat them on the phone is how they're going to perceive you treating their friends. So if you say some things like, I love this phrase, like, my mom said you were nice, but she didn't say you were this nice. My mom said that you were nice and that you could appreciate a hardworking college kid like myself. Phrases like that on the phone can set the framework for your presentation, because you're not some like slick knife salesperson. You're a young professional that's trying to create a foundation for your life. So play that part. I think that's important. Under the umbrella of goal sharing, once you get to the appointment, you open up the blue book and then you close the blue book and you put the blue book aside and say, Miss Jones, can I just tell you why I'm in your kitchen right now? Like, why I'm doing this, right? Because obviously I didn't, wasn't a little kid saying, man, I want to be a knife salesperson. That's not why I'm doing what I'm doing. Can I explain to you real quick why I'm doing this? And then you put the book aside and you say, well, obviously I'm a student, I'm going to school, or, I'm 19 years old. And, the reason why I'm doing this right now is because my dream job is to do blank. And in order to aggressively chase down that dream job, I wanted to put myself in a position where I meet new people, where I work on my communication skills, where I work on my self-confidence. And, the Cutco business has such a great model, and they have all these contests and all these goals that I can, shoot for. And all I need to do is at least 10 appointments a week to stay on track towards my goals. And that's why I appreciate you so much for sitting down with me, because you're one of those 10 for this week. And if you like me, and if you like my goals, and if you like the presentation, I'm going to ask you at the end to introduce me to more people. So that way I can continue working towards these goals. But of course, don't introduce me to anyone now. Wait till the end of the appointment. And then if you like me, you can feel free to empty out your entire cell phone and recommend all your friends and family, because, obviously you don't have to buy anything today. That's going to be totally up to you. The only thing I ask is at the end is just introduce me to everyone that that might be nice enough to help me out towards my goals, that could appreciate a hardworking college kid. So that's the foundation of getting them to like you, from the phone call to the beginning stages of the appointment. So let me kind of bring some light to that even more. As far as when you're talking about your goals and when you're talking about the appointment and whatnot, it's important to let them know a certain amount of appointments that you're trying to hit, such as 10 a week. I think that's a good number. How their appointment is really important towards that goal, and that you kind of let them know it's like, listen, if you like me and if you like everything I show you today, just have an open mind and feel free to, introduce me to as many people as at the end. Kind of mentioning that inside the goal sharing. Now, in the virtual demo, you want to make sure that you're sending them an About Me page. So you want to create an About Me page. It's a goal page that kind of says most of what I just said. I'd even consider having one for your live appointment. You could even ask Trevante to make one up for you. He might charge you a small fee, but it could look real nice, and allows you to explain how 10 appointments a week aligns with all of the goals that you have. And let's face the facts. If all you did was 10 appointments average per week, now granted, some weeks you might do 6 and some weeks you might do 15. But if you average 10 appointments a week for a year, that's going to put you in front of 500 people a year. You put yourself in front of 500 customers a year, you get 300 sales. That's 60%. 300 people buy Cutco from you each year. You'll beat Dylan Fitz. I mean, 300 sales in a year, my goodness. I mean, that's a lot of orders. So just kind of put that in perspective. 10 appointments a week and tying your customer into that goal of what that could really do for you. But in order for your customer to see what that could do for you, it's got to land for you first. So that's my first key, is goal sharing. The second key is the pre-frame. The pre-frame starts really on the company page, where you introduce the sponsorship for the first time. So when you say, Ms. Jones, it's in the Blue Book, I also have a sponsorship, and it doesn't cost you anything, but it helps me out a ton. I can actually earn up to $450 in free Cutco every year, just by getting sponsors. And like I said, it's free. It helps me out a ton. And it's really simple to do. And what's nice is when you actually help me towards a sponsorship, you can actually get some free stuff as well. It's just based on introductions and referrals. I'll tell you all about that program at the end. So it's like setting the pre-frame there in the beginning that you're going to ask for recommendations. And then also at the end of the company page where it says the DSA, the Direct Selling Association, letting them know. And also, by the way, we're part of the Direct Selling Association, which means that there's no door-to-door, there's no telemarketing. It just means we only do ethical business practices. So every single one of those 16 million people who bought Cutco were friends telling friends about the representative and about the product line. So it's all word of mouth. So key number 2 is establish a pre-frame that, hey, at the end, I'm going to ask you for, to introduce me to more people. So before we actually go into the last 3, which are more about the approach at the end of the appointment, any questions or comments on the first 2 keys, which is the goal sharing and getting them to like you, along with the pre-frame to establish that? Questions, comments, or takeaways?
I had a question, Mike.
Please.
So you said there's like a goal page, and you said, I can't remember the name, but someone could help us out with that. What would that goal page look like? Is it like a...
That's a good question. On Trevante, if you post in the team chat after this is done, put @ and then tag Trey in in the post, and just say, hey, I'm curious as to what it would cost for getting a goals page made. You can make it yourself. I mean, mine looks super elementary. I went to Google Images and took some images and put it onto a PowerPoint and then printed it. It's just an about me page. I believe Sierra might even have a template that I sent you for the virtual one. And I might have that somewhere if I looked hard enough for it. But it's just like about me.
I actually have my Blue Book in front of me. I don't do like the about me page, but I have like pictures. I don't know if they'd want to look at it.
Hold it up. Let's see.
Yeah. So I've been using a different Blue Book since I've laminated like all the pieces, but basically like I have pictures in here of like when I graduated from high school and my family when they came to visit me in the Lincoln Memorial. And here's pictures from my branch office. I don't know if you guys could like see that.
Yep.
Yeah. And then, yeah.
Cool. I think so the pictures are good if you know what you're saying. What's nice about the About Me page is it has text on there that kind of, in case you forget what you're supposed to say, then you could just kind of look at the book and like it give you a refresher. I like that for newer reps, like that has some verbiage there. I'm all about the pictures too. I think you could do a little bit of both for sure.
I could use some revamp.
Great question. Any of the questions or comments on the goal sharing of the pre-frame? Cool. Let's go with ask with confidence. So now asking with confidence is at the end of the presentation. So now you did the whole presentation. They bought the knives. They like the knives. They like you. And then you got to ask with confidence. So the easiest way to ask with confidence is by memorizing what to say. There's no secret weapon there. There's no hidden formula. You just got to memorize this. And when I say memorize, it's not even memorize the words. It's internalize it like you could sing the song. So imagine the recommendation approach was the song and you're ready to do some karaoke. Knowing the lyrics is one thing, but like you got to also know the beat and the melody behind the lyrics. So those that sing, the two of you on here know what I'm talking about there. So those that don't sing, you also probably know what I'm talking about there. So you can't just get up there and just try to wing it and just say, oh, I know the words if you don't know the beat. So there's certain parts of the recommendation approach that you really want to make sure you use your body language to overemphasize. For example, you want to get some yeses. You want to get your customer in a yes frame of mind. So it looks like this. Miss Jones, do you remember that like $150 sponsorship I told you about in the beginning? You remember that sponsorship? And you give like a slight head nod, like waiting for them to give a yes. Get them to say the word yes. When you get a customer in a yes pre-frame, a yes frame of mind, it's only going to help you towards whatever it is that you're asking them. So do you remember that? Even if they don't remember that, they'll say yes. Do you remember that? You use your tone of voice to get them to say yes. Yeah, I remember that. Great. Well, there's one more very important part, and here's where you can really help me out. And there's two head nods there on the very and the really. Very important. Really help me out. Two reasons why those nods are important. Number one, it's more likely for you to memorize it by using those head nods. But number two, it emphasizes the urgency and the importance of what you're about to ask them. Like this is critical. Lets them know how critical this is. There's one more very important part. Here's what can really help me out. And that also slows down the tempo. And maybe you've been talking real fast, but it slows down the tempo of like how important this is. The next 3 lines are the most important 3 lines of the entire training manual. I get paid every time I show cut go. I could only call people I'm personally recommended to. So what I need you to do, I'm just like putting everything away, cleaning everything up, entering your order into the computer. What I need you to do, see that phrase like there? What I need you to do, not what I'm hoping you could do, not what I want you to do. It's like, so what I need you to do while I'm just cleaning up everything is jot down 200 to 300 people. I'm just kidding, just 10 to 20 that might be nice enough to help me out. That phrase right there, that might be nice enough to help me out. That might be nice enough to help me out. That's like the most important word in the entire training manual. So often new representatives swap out the word might for the word would. 10 to 20 people who would help me out. It's not who would help you out, it's who might help you out. You want possibilities when it comes to recommendations, not definites. Who might be nice enough to help me out. And I'm not necessarily looking for people who would buy, just people nice like you to take a look. And you give them a little compliment right there. Nice like you to take a look. Those 3 lines, you nail those 3 lines, you'll get at least 5 to 10 every time. Nail those 3 lines. If you don't have the whole approach memorized, get it down, but get those 3 lines down first. And then you explain the sponsorship. You explain the sponsorship. Even you could botch this explanation of the sponsorship as long as you nail those 3 lines. So I'll use the binder setup to transition. So finish up the third key, which is ask with confidence. A couple things with ask with confidence. Make sure you're nodding your head. Make sure you have those 3 lines memorized. Make sure you emphasize the word might. If you could land the joke, land the joke. 200 to 300 people. I'm just kidding, right? Land the joke. You're gonna land it. And another way to ask with confidence is when you pass them the sheet of paper, right? You pass them the pen and a sheet of paper. Here's a way to ask with confidence. You pass them the pen and you hold the pen out and wait for them to grab it. So here's a pen. And you wait for them to grab the pen. And then you pass them the sheet of paper. And put the sheet of paper in front of them too. Gives them ownership. It's like, here's a pen. and here's your piece of paper, here's your sheet of paper. Just put down as many as you can. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your help. That last sentence, you want to slow that down. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your help. Can you slow it down?
Can I echo something?
Sure.
So about the jokes that you mentioned, the 2 to 300 joke, I mean, yeah, super important. Those other 3 lines that you had mentioned are more important, but once you get those down, you definitely want to get that down, because just like we take the price of Cutco and we say expensive, expensive, we're raising the price expectation. If you do that for recommendations, when you say 2 to 300, they're like 2 to 300, and then when you say, oh, just 10 to 20, they're like, oh, okay. But if you start with just 10 to 20, then they're thinking like that's a lot. So just a little thought.
Yep. Excellent. Um, I should have said this earlier, but for those of you that get, the Amandas of the world that are getting 10 to 20, this is a review of the fundamentals. Hopefully there's like one or two things that still offer you enough value that's like, ooh, that's a good refresher, a good reminder. So that way it's not like it's a good use of your time this morning. Hopefully I'm able to still offer some insights there. So even though a lot of this is like, Mike, I know this, I'm going to make sure that I try to give you some stuff that's going to offer you some good feedback. So, or good use, good value for your appointments. So under the banner of asking with confidence, we said, nod your head, learn the joke, might, the 3 lines, pass the pen first, make sure they grab it, pass the sheet of paper, make sure they grab it, and then slow down. Thank you so much. This really, really helps me out. And on the virtual, it's the same thing. The virtual is like, so I have a pen and a piece of paper. So who are some people off the top of your head that might be nice enough to help me out? We'll start with the names and come back to the numbers. So who do you know that's nice? And by the way, most people put me on speakerphone while they just scroll through their cell phone. Right? And it's simple. I mean, it's the same thing. Same thing as just ask with confidence. So the fourth key is the binder setup. Now, when you explain the sponsorship, the only thing a customer should ever see is sponsors. So they only should see sponsors in your recommendation binder. Hence, you need to have a recommendation binder. So the only thing they see is 20s and 10s on the front. Whatever they see is what they're going to give you. Now, I would encourage you in a highlighter on every sheet that's a sponsor, you write the word sponsor as across every one of the sponsorship sheets. All the double sponsors, write double sponsor. Because those recommendation sheets are pretty obsolete for your business, because ideally after your fast start, you started updating a spreadsheet. And you go to Google Sheets, you create a spreadsheet, and you start dumping all of your contacts into your spreadsheet. So the recommendation sheets are pretty obsolete. All they're really used for are trophies for your actual presentation to get more recommendations. That's all they're used for, because you're dumping them into a spreadsheet. So, but then the sponsors, you just write sponsor, double sponsor. Now, if you want to get really strategic, say you're sitting down with Sally, and Sally's was recommended by Joan. You could have Joan's double sponsor as the front one on your binder and say, all you have to do to be one sponsor is get to this first level at 10, just like Joan did, and you get to 20, you become a double sponsor and count twice towards a sponsorship. So it's also creating the social proof that Joan became a double sponsor. Now, one of the concerns that you might hear is like, oh, then Joan probably gave you everyone I know. It's like, perfect, Miss Jones, you could actually recommend them too and still help me towards the sponsorship, but who knows, maybe there's some other people you might not know. I just need the 20. Right? Because in the process of them writing down duplicates, they're also going to write down people that weren't duplicates. So there is a little bit of a catch there, but I do think the social proof will help you get more recommendations than before. So just a thought for you. So 10, you get to 10, you become one sponsor, 20, and you're pointing to the sponsorship, and then you flip past, 5 or 6 sponsors. Then you have a blank sheet there, boom, pass the customer 2 sheets out of your binder and say, just put down as many as you can. Something as small as passing them 2 sheets of paper versus 1 might help you get more recommendations because it creates that expectation. Here's another tip with a binder is have a record for them to beat. Ms. Jones, here's a couple of sheets of paper. In fact, I'll give you 2 because my record is actually 52. So if you need another sheet, that only is 40, but if you want to break the record, not only will you be my best friend, but I'll also hook you up with blank. Just to see if that worked, I did that once for field training for Delilah. I went and did one of her service calls for her. And I did that just so like, because I was like kind of showing off. I think Connor Flaherty and maybe Trevante was there, 2 of them. I don't remember. It was 2 guys. I don't remember who. And they watched me get 62 recommendations just by saying the record is 61. And she got to 62 just to beat the record. So I was like, this is pretty good. I'll teach this. It was like kind of off the cuff type of thing, but it worked really well. So using your binder to your advantage. And lastly is the 5th key is to ask again. And I want to teach you how to properly ask for more. The elementary way of asking for more is just do a little puppy dog face and be like, is there any way you could think of just a few more? You're only 2 away from a sponsorship. Is there any way you could just think of 2 more? A little puppy dog thing, that works. Works like a charm, especially if you have rapport. Now, for me, 33-year-old dude, probably not going to pull the whole puppy dog thing off. You know, I think a little innocent girls, maybe, maybe a little Joshy, maybe could pull it off. I'm just kidding. He's not here, but he might watch the recording, so he might be able to pull it off. But most of the time, I want to teach you how to do it properly from a position of confidence, not from a position of desperation. So how to ask for more properly. There's a formula here. So you say, thank you so much for these recommendations. This really means a lot to me. So you thank them. Sincerely, genuinely thank you so much for these recommendations. It really means a lot to me. Thank you so much. So that's number 1. Number 2, after you thank them, you re-explain the sponsorship. So thank you so much for these recommendations. I really appreciate your help. And just to remind you, the sponsorship, if they're at 8, you explain the 10 level. If they're at 12, then you explain the 20 level. So at 10, so you re-explain the sponsorship. So Ms. Jones, thank you so much for these recommendations. You have no idea how much this helps me out. Just to remind you, the sponsorship is really, really critical for my success, as we talked about. And right now you're at 12. You're only 8 away from getting that next sponsorship. You're only 8 away from getting the next sponsorship. So you re-explain the sponsorship and tell them how close they are. And then you use some sort of action of most people actually will get from 12 to 20 using like their cell phone or an address book or a directory, or even going through their Facebook. I'm sure if you do that, you'll definitely get to the next level of the sponsorship. And it would really help me out. So if I had to do it like real time live for you, okay? And then the 4th one is bribe them if you need to. So it sounds like this. Jones, thank you so much for these 8 recommendations. You have no idea how much this helps me out. And just to remind you, the sponsorship level is at a level of 10, and you're only 2 away from that 10. I'm sure that if you use your cell phone or directory or church list or even your Facebook, you could probably get those other 2. And I'll tell you what, if you get those other 2, I'll even give you that vegetable peeler that we showed you in the beginning of the presentation for free just by getting 2 more. I'd really appreciate it. So it sounds like something like that live. But you got to make that sponsorship, that next sponsorship level really important. And you could even then take it a step further and say, Miss Jones, I'm sure you could get there, especially since they could live anywhere in the country, because I have a remote presentation or an online presentation that I could do the online marketing for Cutco as well. I like the phrasing. I'm also on the online marketing team for Cutco, where I could do online presentations. I learned that at the SLC conference. I'm part of the online marketing team for Cutco. So that's how to properly ask for more. So questions or comments on how to properly ask for more, or the binder setup, or how to or ask them with confidence, anything up to this point? Any questions or comments on that?
Hello?
Yeah.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to ask the fourth key. The fourth key after most people would use their contacts. What's the last one after that?
The fourth key, for asking properly?
Yeah.
For asking properly. So I'll just do let me do it for you live, and then so it's thank you so much for these recommendations. I really appreciate it. Then you re-explain the importance of the sponsorship. Then you thought jog of different ways that they could use. And then the fourth one is bribe them if you need to. Like leverage the peeler. Yeah, Luke Laughlin, he was averaging something like 150 recommendations per week when he was in Denver using the vegetable peeler. So he was getting a new 150 phone numbers every week. He's the guy that sold 112,000 this summer, 115,000 this summer. And he was getting 150 new recommendations every single week just leveraging the peeler. Pretty easy to stay in business doing 10 appointments a week when you're getting a new 150 names and numbers every single week. Okay, so the next one is how to respond to the objection and the concern properly. Then we'll talk about how to set the text message up and how to enroll the customer into Facebook. And then we'll wrap up with your biggest takeaways and biggest light bulbs. Then we'll do some phone calls. So how to respond to the objection concern. The most popular concerns that you're going to get is, let me talk to my friends first. That's a really popular one you might get. Let me just talk to my friends first. Can I give it back? Can I send this to you later? Can I do it later? I'm in a rush right now. That's usually a popular one as well. And another one that might be pretty popular is I'm just not really comfortable doing that. I would say those are probably the three most popular ones. Does anyone have an additional one that's like really popular that you might get more often than those three? Okay.
They don't know anyone.
So I don't know anyone. Okay. So I don't know anyone. I'm not comfortable doing that. I want to talk to my friends first, or I'll give them to you later. Are those pretty easy ones?
That's it, yeah.
Okay, let's talk about each of these. So the first thing that's important to understand is that an objection, the easiest way to answer these objections is before they come up. Before they come up is the easiest way to answer them. So if you do everything that we just talked about, you won't get these concerns. So where does the concern come from of I want to talk to my friends first? What they're really saying is, if a customer ever says I want to talk to my friends first, what they're really saying is that I'm not comfortable giving my friends information to you because I feel like you're a stranger. That's like kind of that's how to interpret that. That's how to interpret the objection. So that's what I'm going to teach you real quick. Interpret the objection. Forget the words, but interpret it. If they say, I'm just not comfortable doing that. Like I don't want to like put people's information down. It's the same objection, just disguised differently. If they say, I want to do it later, I'm in a rush right now. That just means they think it's going to take more time than it actually does. And then I don't know anyone. Well, of course, that one's easy. They're thinking of people that they don't know who would buy. So really it's only three things. Either I'm not comfortable, I feel like I don't have enough time, or I don't know anyone who I think would buy. Those are really your three main concerns. So let's help them feel comfortable with those concerns. Anytime you have someone that answers an objection, you always want to align with them first. So you align with them. What does aligning with them look like or sound like? It sounds like this. So if a customer says, I don't know anyone, it's like, oh my gosh, I totally apologize, Miss Jones. I apologize. What? I apologize if I gave you the impression that you had to think of people or know people that would for sure buy or would definitely be interested. I'm only looking for people who might possibly be nice enough just to get a call from me. And I'll just simply introduce myself. It's just anyone who I could introduce myself to, possibly. So most people, they just go through their 10 most recent phone calls in their cell phone and they start there because those are probably people you know fairly well that might be nice enough for me to introduce myself to. So who are the last 10 people you spoke to on the phone? They're probably close to you. So if they say, I don't know anyone, I start with an apology, and I apologize for not being clear. Oh my gosh, Ms. Jones, I apologize. I apologize it wasn't clear. I'm not looking for people that would like buy or definitely be interested, just people who might possibly be nice enough to not even help me out, but just might be okay receiving a call from me so I could introduce myself to them. I found that most people, the last 10 that they spoke to in their cell phone, like their most recent calls, those are some of the nicest people that you might know because you have just spoke to them recently, where maybe I could introduce myself to them. Who are the last 10 people you spoke to if you went to your outgoing calls? Probably your mom, your sister, maybe your sister-in-law, right? Let's start there. And once you get them started, it's very easy to get them to continue. As far as another concern that we said they might say is I'm not comfortable. Now this one's a mindset. This one is a confidence thing. So I'm going to create a framework. I'm not saying necessarily say this, but I'm going to create a framework. All right. I have said this on many appointments too. So if you want to use this, you could use this. So I'll just say it live for you. I'll do two different ones, just kind of let the framework for you. So if they say, oh, Mike, I'd love to help you out. I'm just really not comfortable with the introductions. I'll just act it out. Go. Did I smell bad? Did I offend your senses today? No. Oh gosh. I thought I smelled bad. You didn't want to introduce me to people. Ms. Jones, just so you know, this is simply just an introduction. Like imagine if I was sitting here at the table and you had 5 of your family and friends come over the house right now. Would you hide me in the closet or put me in the corner and put a lampshade over my head? Or do you think you would just introduce me? You just introduce me, right? That's all this is. It's simply just an introduction of the 5 nicest people you know who I could just introduce myself to, and who knows who they know. Maybe they know some other people who might also be able to, help me towards my goals or might want to meet me. So what do you think? Who are the 5 nicest people that you know that I could just at least introduce myself to? So I'll act it out one more time for you. I'll just do it real time live just so you can see. And again, I'm just giving you the goods. But so, you're not comfortable, or you just want to talk to your friends first? You're just not comfortable? Do I smell bad? Did I offend your senses today? Ms. Jones, just so you know, this is just an introduction. So like imagine if you had 5 of your friends or close family friends or family members like show up at the house right now for a barbecue and I was sitting here. Would you hide me in the closet or put me in the corner and put like a lampshade over my head? Or do you think you would probably just introduce me? All this is just an introduction to 5 really nice people that you know. And I'll treat them the exact same way I treated you. Because here's what's cool, Miss Jones. Who knows who they know? They might know more people who might be able to help me towards my goals. And maybe I could help them towards their goals. Who knows? But it would mean the world to me. Do you think you could just think of at least 5 nice people? In fact, you could probably go to the last 10 people you spoke to on the phone in your recent calls. I'm sure a few will pop up for you. Okay. So that's responding to their concern properly. Any questions, comments on that?
What if they decided to get smart with you and were like, oh, well, yeah, if they showed up, I'd introduce you to them, but I don't want to give them your number.
Yeah, well, Ms. Jones, obviously they're not going to show up right now, but it's still an introduction. It's just an introduction. So what you could do is you could introduce me through text message if you want. You could put me in a 3-way text message if you'd like. You could, we can call them right now while we're here, and you could just say, hey, and you could pass me the phone and introduce me that way. I want to do whatever's most comfortable for you. At the same time, I just want to make it easy for you. I don't want you to have to do my work for me, but it would be amazing if you wanted to call them right now and introduce me that way, or you could put me in a 3-way text message with them. That'd be really helpful. Or if you just give me their phone number, just like all these other people have done in this binder here, I'll just reach out to them and I'll talk to them the same way I spoke to you. So here's what I will say. Even if you still get the no, you're more likely to get more recommendations by doing what I'm saying than not doing what I'm saying. So these are just tools that might be able to help your customer move to giving you more. But the easiest way to move them to giving you more is do all the other things that we talked about. But I at least want to equip you with a couple of tools that might be able to help you get a few extras from the ones that we're going to give you 0 and working them up to 5. Any other questions or comments on that? Now, last 2, how to get the text messages sent immediately and how to enroll your customer to do Facebook. Then we'll wrap up with your biggest takeaways, and then you guys can hop on the phone. So how to get text sent immediately. Once you get your list of recommendations, once you qualify your list of recommendations, you know all about each of the people that they gave you. You know what their husband's name is. You know what their kids' names are, what side of town they live, if they're going to be live or virtuals, if they're home during the day, a fun fact about these people. You have this whole list, you have everything qualified, and you even ask them, Ms. Jones, if you had my job or if your kid had my job, who would you send your kid to first? You put a little star next to those people. You have all of this list qualified. Who the best ones are. Then you say, Ms. Jones, I just feel like it's a lot more polite and more courteous if they have like a heads up, like just to let them know that I might be reaching out to them. I just think it's like a lot more polite and a little bit more courteous if they have a heads up to let them know that I might be reaching out to them. I'm going to actually, and I reach for my phone, I'm going to actually send you a text message right now. Boop, you should have received it. I'm just going to ask, could you quickly forward that text message, copy and paste to at least the top 2 on the list? But if you could do all of them, that'd be great. In fact, I could do it for you real quick. It'll only take a minute. And I extend my hand. So, Ms. Jones, I just feel it's a lot more polite or more courteous to let your friends know that I might be reaching out to them. So let me go ahead and I'm going to send you a text. You can reach your phone, send a text. Did you get it? Cool. If you could go ahead and just send that text message to at least your best bets. In fact, the whole list would be great. just giving them a quick heads up, copy paste, copy paste. In fact, I could do it for you real quick if you want. Only take me a moment. And you extend your hand. If it's a virtual, then you can't extend the hand and do it for them, but at least you do the verbiage to help them do it for you. Questions or comments on the text message on how to get those text messages sent out? Okay. And lastly is how to enroll your client into using Facebook. This right here is a secret weapon. So this is how I would set it up. And I would say, now lastly, Miss Jones, one of the things I'm really learning right now is how to use social media to kind of continue to brand myself and brand, just to brand myself and my goals. So right now I'm using social media to brand myself and brand my goals. So what I'd really love for you to do is, if you'd be nice enough, if we could take a selfie real quick, okay? And if I send you a text template of what to put on your timeline, on your newsfeed on Facebook. So that way anyone that you didn't recommend, or anyone that maybe have heard of Cutco, or maybe anyone you didn't have a phone number for, maybe they might be interested in helping me out. At least it kind of goes out into the social media world. It would mean the world to me if you could kind of help me with the social media aspect of things. Would that be okay with you if we did that real quick? All right, and I would just start holding up the phone, take a selfie, boom, have them hold up the Cutco binder, hold up a knife or something. I like that. I like the Cutco binder. And then you take the selfie, and then you say, now what, Miss Jones, I'm going to send you this text, but we have to be friends on Facebook first, so I'm going to send you a friend request. You got it? Okay, good. Cool, that's you, right? Yeah. All right, I'm going to copy paste. I'm going to send this text to you. Send the text. Boom. Did you get it on Facebook Messenger? Yeah. And you got the photo of us too? Awesome. If you could put that onto your news feed, here's what I'll tell you. If anyone responds to that, or anyone, messages me or anything, I'm going to do a raffle at the end of each month with anyone who does this. And I would like to put you in that raffle for any appointment that I get from social media. I'm going to be raffling off $100 in free Cutco at the end of each month. I'm going to raffle off $40 in free Cutco. I'm going to raffle off a vegetable peeler at the end of each month for every customer that helps me get appointments through social media. So every appointment gets you a raffle. So thank you so much. And you'll be able to see any of your friends that help out, because they'll be the ones that like or comment. So thank you for this. And I hope it's not too presumptuous of me to ask, but would it be also okay if I sent a direct message to a couple of your friends that you didn't recommend, that you didn't have phone numbers for, and also just introducing myself that way and letting them know who I am, and maybe see if they might be nice enough to help me with an appointment that way too? Would that be okay with you? And the message is simply going to say, like, hey, I'm Susie's Cutco friend from Cutco. I know her from her daughter. We went to school together. If you look at her news feed, she just had me over for an appointment. I was hoping you might be able to do the same. Would it be okay if I called you for an appointment? Something like that. Would it be okay if I told you a little bit more about it? And that's how you can enroll your customer and enroll your client into using social media. So just kind of recap that, what I would suggest is, number one, you build up the importance of learning social media and how to brand yourself and brand your goals. You take the selfie, you have them posted on their story, you become friends with them. Send them a Facebook instant message with the text you want them to post along with the selfie you just took. And then throw out a contest, some sort of raffle for the month for every appointment that you get from social media. And then ask if it would be okay for permission to just send a direct message to some of the people that they didn't have phone numbers for. So, as I mentioned in the beginning today, I wanted to make sure I offer you some tools that can help you brand yourself with recommendations. We went through the 5 basics, the 5 keys that we teach in training and advanced training. We went through like getting them to like you through goal sharing, setting up the pre-frame, asking with confidence, having your binder set up, and asking them again properly. We went through how to respond to concerns properly, how to get the text messages sent immediately, along with how to enroll your customer in Facebook and using social media. So I'd like to go around real quick. What was your biggest takeaway, biggest highlight, biggest point, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 nuggets you're like, dang, I kind of needed to hear that today, or that was really helpful, for this workshop this morning that you could either work on or like to implement into your appointments today? Who'd like to go first?
I could go.
All right. So we'll go Brenda, and then we'll go to Stephen. I saw you had your hand up.
Well, I like that online marketing for a team for Cutco. I never heard that before, but it makes sense, and it would fit in for the way I do my thing. And the other thing is pre-framing the sponsorship. I would like to add that to I don't think I pre-frame properly.
Cool.
So,
Cool. Stephen. And then
Yes.
We'll go Stephen, and then we'll go Sierra, and then Sarah, and then we'll finish up with Amanda.
Cool. I said the biggest takeaway was 10 most recent phone calls on your phone. That's fire.
Yeah. Too.
And then when you were getting them texted, ask for the top 2 first, and then just transfer over to all of them, and then reach your hand out. Those are really good reminders, and those are my biggest light bulbs. So.
Good. I'm glad you got those reminders. Sarah, what about you? Or Sierra? We'll go Sierra, and then if Sarah's still awake, I'm not sure, and then we'll go to Blondie.
Yeah, so my biggest takeaway was really just creating that goal sheet. It's been on my to-do list for a while, but just getting the reminder. And then the 3 lines, I get paid every time I shoot Coco, just like crushing that part. And then one last thing. It's just to align with them after their concerns and everything, which is big for me because I always get those concerns.
Cool. And just know that the concerns are coming from the other parts of the 5 steps. So if you nail the 5 steps the right way, the concerns really don't exist, or they diminish a lot. We'll go Sarah, and then we'll finish up with Miss Amanda over there.
So my biggest takeaways, I liked the OMG Miss Jones, I apologize, and like she asks, what, like kind of like why are you apologizing? About people who, not just people who would want to buy, but people who even wouldn't necessarily want to buy just are nice enough, because I do have usually a lot of people just are like, oh yeah, well I don't want to give you recommendations if I already know for a fact they're not going to buy, and I like try to remind them, sometimes people that you would least expect to buy end up getting sets and stuff like that. And then I wrote down like the memorization, of course, of the approach, and then just the ask again part, because I haven't really done. I mean, I have, but it's not really been that effective. So I just kind of like really wrote down like the puppy dog face, and like reiterating like how much the recommendations help me out, and to make sure that I thank them.
Excellent. So it sounds like you had a few different nuggets there. Great. Amanda, go ahead and take us home. I'll stop the recording.
Yeah, I really liked that that you're part of the online marketing team for rituals, so you can do rituals out of state as well. Something that I stopped doing was opening my blue book and just like shutting it and then explaining your goals. Instead of that, I was just goal sharing. So I feel like it makes it a lot more genuine, something that I forgot about. So a little nugget there. And just the Facebook program, I was doing it a lot in the spring and in the summer. I kind of went away from it, but that's not a smart move, so I'm gonna get back into it. What is like your biggest tip if someone's like camera shy and they don't want to take a picture with you?
I would just take a selfie of yourself and send it to them holding the Cutco Blue Book, and that way it just says, "This is my new friend Amanda with Cutco."
Okay. So yeah, and then I'm getting back on the Facebook program because it yielded good results when I was on it.
Yeah, let me make a big sale for you. Advertising on social media means you're advertising and you're not working. So anytime there's advertising out there that's passive, there's possibilities for appointments without you making phone calls. So essentially that's what's happening. Every post you get a customer to make on Facebook for you is advertising with the chance of you getting people calling you. Now that's not the nature of our business. We don't want to rely on that, but it's always a nice additive bonus. But without the advertising, there's no way someone can call you. But with the advertising, you have a shot. So use social media to your advantage to have a shot at getting those extra scoop up appointments. Gabby Newman used to do this all the time. That's where I really was sold on it, where her aunt posted it and boom, within minutes she sold a homemaker set. I was like, oh, dang, okay, then I'm sold. Like that's all it took for me to be like, yeah, that's worth it.
Yeah, I don't know why I moved away from it. I made phone orders from that too, from like customers who had Cutco pieces that they needed.
Happens all the time. You know, we only use it during pushes, but we should use it consistently, 10 a week. So let's crank out, phone calls to start the day. I got to get ready for my staff meeting with the district team. And let me stop the recording right now.